Hey Julie, let's take a look at this, see if I can help you understand that guess and check method. And the AC method will always work. The guess and check is kind of handy though, especially when we've got a large AC. So in this case, we really kind of want to look at our sign patterns too. When we look at the C term, that tells us that the two signs in the binomial have to be the same. If we look at the B term, then that'll actually tell us they're going to be the same, either positive or negative. Because if the trinomial is all positive, then my binomial is going to be positive. If that C term is negative, that tells us the signs have to be different. The only way to get a negative at the back is if we multiply a negative times a positive or positive times a negative, right? They've got to be different though. So when we're using the guess and check, what we're going to do is kind of list all of the factors for the back and the front. We can open up two sets of parentheses. We know right now that those signs are going to be positive, that we're going to be adding both of those. I'm going to have an A and A in front of each one of those to get my A squared. All I've got to do is get some numbers now. And this is why we call it the guess and check. You're just going to do that. We're going to be guessing and checking. We know we're going to be adding to get the middle. The signs have to be the same. So we simply just go through and guess and check. So we do 25 times 1 for 25. We do 1 times 64 for 64. 25 plus 64 is not 100. We do 25 times 2. No, that gives me 50. 1 times 32 is 32. That's not 100. And I just keep going here. 25 times 4 is 100. 1 times 16 is 16. 25 times 8, well, that's bigger than 100, so I'm not going to get down to 100 by adding. Then I turn around and I do the options in the front. I'm going to look at the 5 and try this all again, trying to find a combination that adds to 100. So 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 64, well, that's 300 and something. 5 times 2, that gives me 10. 5 times 32, that's what, 150, 160. Not quite. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 16, well, that's 80. Oh, wow, 20 plus 80 is 100. So I know now that I'm going to use this combination. 5 and 5, 4 and 16. And it's just a matter of where we put it in the two binomials here. We know that this column is going to be the values in the front of each parenthesis. So I'm going to have a 5 and a 5. I know that this second column is going to be the values, not the 8, going to be the values in back. I'm going to have a 4 and a 16. Quick check if I FOIL that out. I know 5 times 5 is 25. Is 25. They got an A squared in there. I know that I'm going to have a what? First outer, so I'll have a 80A. Inner plus my 20A. Well, that gives me my 100A. My last 4 times 16 gives me my 100, or gives me my 64. So my answer then, when I factored that, is 5A plus 4 times 5A plus 16. The other question you had there, along the same lines, dealt with signs on that. We know if I've got 12x squared minus 23x plus 5, that these signs are going to have to be the same, and they're going to have to be the same negative to get to that middle term of a minus 23. So looking at that sign pattern, we know that, oh, it follows this pattern right there. They're both going to be negative. And if you just go ahead and multiply that out, we'll have 3x plus 5 times 4x plus 1. My first 12x squared, outer squared, plus 3x inner, plus 20x last plus 5. 12x squared plus 23x plus 5. That's what you have. But what we notice then is if we make those both negative, so if we make them both negative, that's going to make these both negative. That makes that minus 23x. So you got your factoring good. You're right. Just kind of work on your sign patterns. You know, look at that chart. Kind of understand the pattern that's there. Let me know if you have any questions on this, Julie.